Chapter 8. Escape. As Aaron cautiously tested the mobility of his legs, a tense silence enveloped the room. The colto gel's effects began to soothe his pain, yet a lingering vulnerability persisted. Suddenly, the tranquility shattered with the creak of the front door, and distinct footsteps echoed through the pharmacy. Aaron's instincts surged, his grip tightening on the blaster, poised for whatever threat approached. However, Jasamel intervened, signaling for him to stand down. "Wait, they could simply be customers," she whispered, her gaze darting towards the entrance. Jasamel stepped out, leaving Aaron and Kais exchanging uncertain glances. The muffled voice of a protocol droid drifted into the adjacent room, reciting what sounded like standard customer service lines. Relief teased Aaron until raised voices followed, chilling him to the bone. The name Kreisa hung heavy in the air, freezing Aaron in place. Panic flickered in his eyes as he realized the Jedi had tracked him down. Sensing the gravity of the situation, Kais approached the entrance cautiously, motioning for Aaron to stay put. The voices grew louder, indicating that this was far from a routine visit. Jasamel's composed voice now carried urgency as she attempted to diffuse the escalating tension. Aaron strained to catch snippets of the conversation, his mind racing through possibilities. The protocol droid's attempts to maintain order faltered against the turmoil. It became evident that the arrival of these unexpected visitors was no coincidence. Aaron's heart pounded as he turned to Kais, desperation etched on his face. "Is there another way out?" he whispered urgently. Kais nodded grimly. "Yes, there's a door to the roof," he replied, his voice tense. "But..." Before Kais could finish, the room's door burst open with a resounding bang, framing Kreisa. Her hand clutched her side where Aaron's vibro knife had left its mark, but her presence commanded respect. Behind her, armed guards surged forward, weapons at the ready. Kreisa's gaze locked onto Aaron, her eyes ablaze with determination. "I told you, you wouldn't escape Coruscant," she hissed. Without hesitation, Kreisa commanded her guards to subdue the pharmacists, her attention fixed solely on Aaron. Panic surged through him as he realized time was running out. He couldn't face her again. Fighting a Jedi was challenging even under optimal conditions. Engaging in a fight now would inevitably lead to his death. Seizing the opportunity, Aaron darted towards the door that Kais had indicated. With a swift motion, he slammed the door shut behind him, his blaster aimed at the lock control panel. With a sharp crack, he fired, the panel sparking and sizzling as it shorted out, effectively sealing the door shut. Aaron's breath came in ragged gasps as he leaned against the door, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. In the tense aftermath of Arian's escape, Kreisa turned her attention to Kais, her expression demanding answers. "Where does that exit lead?" Kais swallowed hard, his gaze shifting nervously between Kreisa and the closed door. He hesitated for a moment before finally finding his voice, his words tinged with apprehension. "It leads to the roof," he admitted reluctantly, his hands trembling slightly as he spoke. Kreisa's expression hardened at the revelation, her jaw clenched in frustration. She knew that time was of the essence, and she couldn't afford any further delays. "Is there another way to access the roof?" she demanded, her tone firm and unwavering. Kais nodded, relief flooding his features at the prospect of providing a solution. "Yes, there's a maintenance hatch at the end of the hallway," he explained, gesturing towards the far end of the pharmacy. Kreisa's gaze flicked to the guards holding Jasamel. "Secure them here," she ordered, pointing to a corner of the room. As two of the guards restrained Jasamel, the pharmacist couldn't help but hiss. He was right. The conspiracy led by a Jedi, it's all true. Kreisa's eyes narrowed, curiosity piqued. "What conspiracy are you talking about?" Jasamel's voice grew louder now, carrying a mix of frustration and uncertainty. "Senators supplying weapons to rebels, planning to start another war with the Empire. He said you're involved. He was right. Kresa's features tightened as she processed Jasamel's words. For a moment, confusion flashed across her face, but then she realized the depth of Aren's deception. She chuckled, a bitter edge to her laughter. "And you believed him?" Jasamel, still restrained by the guards, nodded defiantly. "Your sudden arrival, accompanied by guards, your injuries, and the fierce determination in your eyes, all of it suggests more than a mere pursuit. You appear not as a Jedi on a chase, but as a hunter tracking her prey." Kresa interjected, directing her words squarely at the pharmacists. "Do you comprehend the gravity of aiding his escape? That man is an Imperial agent. He manipulated you, exploiting your fear of war." Jasamel's disbelief lingered, but Kresa wasn't finished. Her anger burned, eyes flashing with intensity. "He's not trying to prevent a war. He's a catalyst for chaos. The Empire thrives on disorder, and he's willingly playing his part in their twisted game." Jasamel, initially skeptical, now stood shocked, her features etched with disbelief. The weight of the revelation settled heavily upon her, a dawning understanding of unwittingly aiding an Imperial. Kais, his eyes filled with a mix of sadness and vindication, couldn't hold back the bitter truth any longer. "I told you, Jasamel. I warned you about him. He manipulated us, played on our fears, and we fell right into his hands." The pharmacy, once a sanctuary, now felt tainted by betrayal. The consequences of Aren's deceit hung thick in the air, leaving each of them to grapple with the realization that their actions had unintentionally aided the Empire's sinister agenda. In her furious determination, Kresa gestured to the squad leader to follow her as she bolted towards the alternative route leading to the roof. The chase had intensified, and she couldn't afford to let Aren slip away. As they reached the roof access, Kresa, her lightsaber ignited, scanned the area for any sign of the agent. The realization that he had managed to escape only fueled her rage. She growled at the squad leader, her frustration evident. "Order all off-planet landing pads in this sector to be closed immediately. We can't let him leave the planet," Kresa commanded, her voice seething with determination. The pursuit continued, the urgency escalating as they sought to corner the elusive Imperial agent before he could vanish from their grasp. In the absence of a readily available speeder, Arian's instincts kicked in, and he scanned the rooftop for any items that could aid his escape. Spotting a maintenance scaffold leaning against the building, he wasted no time repurposing it into an improvised zip line. It would be a risky descent, but time was a luxury he couldn't afford. As he slid down the makeshift zip line, Aren landed in an alley several blocks away from the pharmacy. He quickly blended into the bustling crowds, utilizing the urban terrain to stay concealed. Mental commands activated his medical implant once more, releasing a surge of stimulants to bolster his agility. He knew the toll this third dose would take on his body, but the urgency of the situation left him little choice. He only hoped that the improvised Koltogel implantation would withstand his acrobatics. As he navigated the crowded streets, Aren intercepted communications detailing the cascading closure of landing pads throughout the sector. A sense of urgency propelled him forward. He needed to reach the extraction site before Kresa could seal off his escape route completely. With acrobatic prowess, he vaulted over obstacles and weaved through the crowded cityscape, leveraging his training and the effects of the stimulants to stay ahead of pursuit. Every passing moment brought him closer to the extraction point, but with Kresa hot on his trail, the race against time intensified. The cityscape blurred around him as he pressed on, determined to outmaneuver his pursuers and complete his escape before the net closed in. He had to secure a speeder if he had any hope of reaching the extraction site in time. Darting through the bustling streets, he kept his senses sharp, scanning for any opportunity to acquire a vehicle. Spotting a speeder rental shop ahead, Aren veered towards it. Bursting through the door, he quickly assessed the available vehicles, his eyes alighting on a sleek, unoccupied speeder bike. Without hesitation, he approached the rental terminal, his fingers flying over the controls as he inputted the necessary credits for the rental. Though he could have simply stolen the speeder, he knew that doing so would draw the attention of the authorities and the Jedi much faster. With a beep of confirmation, the speeder bike unlocked, and Aaron wasted no time in mounting it. Igniting the engines, he shot out of the shop and into the chaotic traffic of the city streets. Dodging through lanes of hovering vehicles, he pushed the speeder to its limits, weaving through traffic with skillful precision. As he raced towards the extraction site, Aaron kept a vigilant eye on his surroundings, wary of any signs of pursuit from Kreesa and her squad. The wind whipped past him as he navigated the urban landscape, his focus unwavering as he pushed the speeder to its maximum speed. With each passing moment, the extraction site drew closer, but so too did the encroaching closure of the landing pads. Aaron knew that time was running out, and the stakes had never been higher. With a mix of relief and urgency, Aaron finally reached the designated site. Awaiting him was a discreet Imperial shuttle concealed in the shadow of towering structures. The hatch opened, revealing a figure that caught Aaron off guard. Watcher 2. Aaron's shock was palpable as he stepped aboard the shuttle. He hadn't expected Watcher 2 to come in person, but there she was, her presence a stark reminder of the gravity of his mission. "Agent, your presence drew too much attention," she remarked, her tone a blend of professionalism and concern, with a hint of disappointment. "All landing pads in the sector are being disabled." Watcher ordered the pilot to take off as quickly as possible. Aaron, still processing her presence here, managed only a nod. "I retrieved the intel. It's all here," he said finally, once his mind regained its footing. Watcher 2 accepted the disc, her eyes scanning its contents. Satisfied, she nodded. "Good work. Let's get you back to Imperial territory."